Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul was a powerful leader of the Khazraj tribe in Medina. Although he and his tribe embraced Islam, bin Salul often disagreed with the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet called him a hypocrite, but did not dare to punish him physically, because the Khazraj would defend bin Salul and revolt against Islam. Bin Salul owned female slaves whom he forced into prostitution. One of them was Musaika. Whenever guests came to his house, he would offer Musaika and the other female slave to sleep with them for a price. Musaika and the other slave had no choice but to obey. They knew that if they resisted, their master would beat them. Forced into prostitution, Musaika became pregnant multiple times and gave birth to several children. Then bin Salul saw another opportunity for profit. He approached the fathers of the children and demanded payment.
I made good money prostituting my slave women. When one of them gave birth, I'd go to the father and offer him to ransom the child. If he refused, I just waited. Once the child was old enough, I'd sell them at the slave market. Either way, I profited.
Musaika and her mother were devastated by the cruelty.
Bin Salul treats me worse than an animal, as if I'm nothing. No soul, no feelings.
Let's talk to Prophet Muhammad about this. Maybe he can help us.
He? Don't you know that he has many slaves too? Why would he defend a female slave against her owner?
What should we do then?
After that, Musaika refused to sleep with any of the men bin Salul asked her to. Bin Salul became angry and started hitting her.
It's not right.
What do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? Who do you think you are?
Her mother came to defend her, but bin Salul beat her up too. At night, Musaika and her mother pondered their lives.
Bin Salul profits while your body is broken. Is this Islam?
I think Prophet Muhammad is our last chance.
We will make him listen.
Prophet Muhammad was surrounded by his companions in his mosque. Mulaika and her mother approached.
Ya Rasulullah, I bring before you a festering wound in the soul of Medina.
Speak, Ya Ukhti.
My daughter Musaika is forced into prostitution by her master bin Salul. She is repeatedly humiliated and used. Where is the justice for the slave girl?
Bin Salul.
Prophet Muhammad was reluctant to act against Abdullah bin Salul, but he knew he had to do something.
Bin Salul shouldn't force you to do so. Allah just revealed this to me. Qur'an, Surah An-Nur, verse 33. Do not force your slave girls into prostitution for worldly gain when they wish to remain chaste.
Does that mean that if they do not wish to remain chaste, it is okay for them to do so?
Well, what's the problem if they're okay with it? Ha ha.
Will you not forbid this prostitution? Will you not punish bin Salul?
Oh, the verse continued. If someone is coerced, Allah is certainly all-forgiving and most merciful.
What? What does that mean?
Allah will forgive your daughter for prostitution as long as she doesn't do it again.
Forgiveness. For her. She doesn't need forgiveness. Bin Salul is the one who sinned. And he walks free?
I didn't do it on purpose. Bin Salul forced me. I delivered several babies, and he sold them to the men who raped me.
The verse is finished. Allah has spoken.
What is the punishment for bin Salul? Will you not put a stop to this prostitution?
He already answered you. Now go.
You slave women should know your position in the Muslim Ummah, okay?
Musaika and her mother left the mosque with big disappointment.
What kind of justice is that? He can order Muslims not to drink alcohol or eat pork, but he cannot forbid prostitution or slavery?
Qur'an, Surah An-Nur, verse 33, is intentionally vague and ambiguous, allowing everyone to interpret it in a way that serves their own interests. The Prophet obviously is playing a trick on us, pretending to defend us, while in reality, he does not. He didn't even declare any penalty for bin Salul.
Musaika has to know that she cannot refuse her master's control over her body. She cannot accuse those men of rape because, under Islam, her testimony is not considered valid in a Sharia court. The testimony of a slave holds no legal weight. Period.
According to Allah or Muhammad, slaves are not human enough to testify in the Sharia court. Tafsir al-Qurtubi, Qur'an, Surah al-Baqarah, verse 282. Malik, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, and the majority of scholars have stated, the testimony of a slave is not valid. Imam Shafi'i wrote in his book, Ahkam ul-Qur'an, and the testimony should be from the free men, and not from the slaves. Similarly, these free men should be the follower of our religion, i.e., they should be Muslims, while the testimony of non-Muslims free men is also not accepted. Imam Abdullah ibn Abi Zayd writes in his fiqh book, the testimony of someone who has been given a fixed punishment, or of a slave, a minor, or a kafir, is inadmissible. A civilization's true moral compass is revealed in how it treats its most vulnerable members. In this regard, Islam's historical treatment of enslaved women raises serious ethical concerns. Islamic law permits Muslims to have sexual relations with their female slaves and supports practices that systematically dehumanized them. These women could be transferred, loaned, or shared between relatives, guests, or even other slaves, with no regard for their consent, autonomy, or dignity. Tafsir Durr Manthur, under the commentary of Qur'an, Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse 6. Abd al-Razzaq narrated on the authority of Atta that he said, it is a common practice that a man would make his slave girl halal, permissible, to his slave, son, brother, and father, and the woman made her slave girl permissible to her husband. Indeed, I have heard that a man would send his slave woman to his guest. When her perceived value declined, she could be resold in the slave markets, where a new master would purchase her, and the cycle of abuse would begin again. With each new owner came renewed exploitation, first the second, then the third, and so on, trapping her in a relentless cycle of sexual subjugation with no path to freedom. But it didn't stop there. If a male slave managed to marry a female slave, forming even the smallest resemblance of a family, the master still had the right to take that woman away. His ownership overpowered her marriage. If he desired her, he could separate her from her husband and sleep with her himself. Sahih Bukhari, Book of Nikah, Chapter 25. Anas said, the meaning of the Quranic verse. Married free women are forbidden to you except your married slave women that your right hands possess. But there is no problem if a man, i.e. the owner, takes his married female slave for himself from his male slave. This horrifying idea is reiterated in Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari, in which he verifies the narration's authenticity. In al-Kashmihani's narration, Ismail al-Qadi mentions a slave girl who was married to a male slave. Al-Qadi included this story in his book Ahkam al-Qur'an with an authentic chain of transmission through Sulaiman al-Taimi, Abu Majlis, and Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik commented on the Quranic verse, and the married women, saying it refers to free women with husbands, except for those whom your right hands possess, i.e., slave women. He explained that it is permissible for an owner to take a slave girl, who is married to his male slave, and have intercourse with her.
How can justice be claimed when a master's sense of ownership allows him to violate the sanctity of a family, shattering it in an instant simply because the woman is married to his slave. What choices does a woman have in such a situation? Can we escape from the master's grasp?
In nearly every ancient civilization, runaway slaves faced severe punishment. But under Islamic law, the repression extended even further, reinforced by both physical brutality and psychological control.
Contrary to modern claims, Islam did not abolish slavery. Those Muslims who insist Islam encouraged abolition either misunderstand the sources or deliberately mislead others to create a more favorable image of Islam. In fact, I established what could be described as a double-layered system of control to prevent slaves from escaping. First, I declared that physical punishment was allowed for a fleeing slave. Muslim owners could impose severe penalties, including death. For instance, my companion Jarir ibn Abdullah reportedly beheaded his runaway slave, a punishment deemed halal or permissible in Islam. Second, I also enforced a psychological mechanism to stop the Muslim slaves from fleeing. I declared that if a Muslim slave runs away, Allah will not accept his prayers. Such a person would be labeled a kafir and an apostate, a status that, under Islamic law, could carry the death penalty and eternal damnation in hell.
Sunan an-Nasa'i, the Book of Fighting, Hadith number 4050. Jarir used to narrate from the Prophet, "If a slave runs away, no salah will be accepted from him, and if he dies, he will die a disbeliever." A slave of Jarir's ran away, and he caught him and struck his neck, killing him.
This combination of physical terror and spiritual condemnation served as a powerful deterrent, locking the enslaved not only in chains, but also in fear of divine wrath.
I was told that Islam encouraged the abolition of slavery. Then why is it permissible to behead runaway slaves? Why is there no punishment for a Muslim master who kills his own Muslim slave?
Now I understand. As a slave girl, I have no rights under Islamic law. Even after marrying my husband, my Muslim master could still force himself on me, tearing apart my marriage and destroying my family. What am I supposed to do?